We'll have to make a few corrections to that introduction. I don't give talks. I don't know enough to give talks. But I'm going to tell some stories, and I'm going to read some prosums. That seemed too loud. Okay, how's that? The back of it? I don't know. It seems very loud to me, but whatever. Is that okay?
No, it's fine.
Okay. So I want to thank Rick, who's the one who invited me for this opportunity. Initially I said no, of course, but because of Rick I said yes eventually. And I'm really grateful for the opportunity because one of the things I enjoy most is telling Baba's stories. And the penalty you guys have to suffer is I read my prosums as well. And it may surprise you, back home Daphne isn't saying, oh boy, can you read me a prosum? It doesn't happen. So I like this opportunity. But I feel a little guilty because I know I'm going to enjoy myself. But I feel a little sorry for all of you. And at the center, lately, each year I go and I do a night of stories and prosums. And I tell myself, well, it's okay, because nobody makes them come, to a Friday night session. And nobody made you come here, but you paid good money. So it makes you think, oh, you're under pressure now to perform. So there are three things that I kind of hide behind that let me do this. And one is the fact that when Guy Mai's family, Eruch's mother, and the family came to join Baba in 1938. And then from then on, they lived with Baba until Baba had the parents and brother and sister settled in Pune in 1943. But before that happened, right after they came, they had the Blue Bus tours, and they were traveling around India on the Blue Bus. And Baba's mother, Shireen Mai, would often come and visit. And whenever she did, Guy Mai just gravitated to her because she loved to hear stories about Baba as a boy. And Baba would put the two of them together because Shireen Mai liked Guy Mai, maybe because they were the same age and all the other women were much younger. But Shireen Mai got exasperated finally and said, Guy Mai, I've told you all my stories. It's not like they're fresh stories. He's no longer a little boy. They're all stale now. And Baba happened to be walking by. And Baba said, no, Mom. Stories about me are never stale. They're always fresh. So anyone who tells Baba stories really relies on that a lot to get away with it. Because I found over the years the number of prosums I can read increases by every year. But the number of stories I remember gets smaller every year. But I may learn something here because last time I was here, I don't know how many years ago that was, I told a story about 3 times when Baba actually had a newspaper article read out in full to him. Usually after a line or two, Baba would say, no, go on to the next one. And they'd read the next line and Baba wasn't interested. But there were 3 stories that Baba liked. And one of them came from Australia about a man who ate a car. I think there was a 50-pound bet or something, and he ate the car, and Baba was fascinated. And he said, and the tires too? To Eruch, I don't know, Baba, he just says he ate a car. And so I told this story. And there was a woman in the crowd from Australia. And she said, my husband does human interest stories for TV. And he walks around the neighborhood and interviews people. And he was going around knocking on people's doors, see if he can find a human interest story. And someone invited him in, and there were newspaper articles on the wall about this man because he'd eaten a car back in the 50s for a 50-pound bet. So we actually found out this story is really true, and someone sort of tracked it down unintentionally. So anyway, the always fresh. That's good to know. The other thing is you had heard that basically my stories are going to sort of revolve around Baba's humor. And in the 20s, early 20s, Baba had the women followers stay in the post office. And so it would be Mira and her mother, and Khorshid and her mother, and nausea. And if there are any Baba historians here, they can tell me if there's anyone else. But at least those 5 were there. And so Baba came in one day, and he said to Mara, "Tell me a funny story." I said, "Baba, when I was at school, I had to study. There wasn't any time to read comic literature. I don't know any funny stories." But the other women said, "Oh, Baba, we know one." And so they told Baba the story. And Baba, of course, thought it was hilarious. And everybody was happy. And Baba went away. And after some period of time, I don't know if it was that day or the next day, or I don't have any idea. But next time Baba's visiting, he says to them, "Tell me another story." They said, "Baba, we don't know any more stories. We told you." He said, "Well, tell me that one again." So they told Baba the same story, and Baba laughed just as much the second time around as he did the first. So I'm kind of hoping that you guys will take that, as your role model, and whether you've heard them or not, will laugh. But the other thing, I was thinking that, I'll go back, that Mani said, that Baba was like the perfect audience. Not just when the women told him a story, but when musicians would come and they would play for him. And Mani said that, I'm not musical, so I don't know what it was, but if a musician did something that only another musician would appreciate, whatever that is, some strange chord progression or fancy fingering, that Baba would always notice. Go, "Oh, very good," or "Shabash," or something to show something that he understood. And the musicians seeing this thought, "Oh, we're playing in front of somebody who really appreciates our art," and that made them want to perform even better. And Mani said time after time afterwards, musicians would come up to her and say, "Mani, we never performed as well as we did today, because Baba was such a perfect audience." And for stories too, because as you know, or you don't know, you will soon find out, that Baba often asked people to tell him funny stories. Baba never liked the mood to get too heavy and serious and spiritual. Didn't like that. He liked things to be lively. And so, who has a good memory here? Anyone? No one? Come on, someone.
Too old.
Okay. Oh, Caroline's young. Okay, Caroline. You're in charge. What I do is I start to tell a story and I interrupt myself, and then I digress, and then I interrupt, and I totally forget what my story was. And I have no idea. Your job will be to try and pay attention. That's the hard part. And then remind me of what the story was. I decided one time in India I would do that for Mani. Mani would do that. Mani would tell a story and then get sidetracked and get so caught up in whatever the story was that we would end up who knows where. And then you say, "Where was I?" And so I had vowed, since I was useless and couldn't do anything, I could do that. I would listen. And the next time Mani said that, I'd say, "Oh, Mani, yeah, you were talking about..." I could never remember. I never got that right. So I'll forgive you, Caroline.
Well, you were telling us about 3 articles.
Yeah.
And we only heard about the car.
No, but there's not enough time to go on the other 2. That wasn't your role. Your role wasn't to remind me what I should say. Your role was to remind me what I was planning to say. So Baba would say to people often, say something, do you have a funny story? And so Bal Natu, who was not a funny man, and was not the sort of person you would think of as a raconteur, but I guess had been around enough, he felt like, it's my turn, I've got to say something, and he knew a story. So he came forward and he sat down in front of Baba and he told a pretty long-winded story about a cat and a family, and I won't go through the whole story, it's way too long, but the cat dies. And apparently it's very bad luck, very inauspicious to have a cat die. So the family doesn't know what to do, and the only remedy is to have this Brahmin priest come and chant the proper Sanskrit slokas to purify that. So the priest comes, and they're bargaining with the priest on how much money it's going to cost, how many prayers he has to say. And as you may know, Baba was not a big fan of priesthood in any religion, especially when money was involved, which was totally antithetical to what a priest should be doing. So probably knowing this, Bal Natu just sort of emphasized just how greedy this Brahmin was, how big the gold rings were on his fingers and his ears, and on, and Baba was loving it. And Baba was chuckling to such an extent that Bal Natu started laughing. He hadn't realized this was such a funny story. But Baba was such a perfect audience that Bal Natu was just laughing. And the punchline of the story is that when they're in the midst of all this haggling, and the priest is saying, well, you really need another one just to be safe, we'd have to do it. The cat revives and gets up and walks away. And so the priest doesn't get any money. So Bal Natu has finished telling Baba this story. And just then a family comes to see Baba. This was a Guru Prasad. And they want to have Baba's darshan. But, oh, good that you've come. Bal just told me the funniest story. You have to hear it. And they say, no, Baba, it's okay. We don't really need to hear the story. No, Bal, take him in the next room and tell them the story. No, Baba, go. It's a funny, you'll like it. So they go into the next room, and as soon as they get there, the husband, the father of the family, says, as quickly as you can, just the gist. So, it's hard to tell a story when someone's going faster, just the gist. And so he gets through it and says, yes, that's it. And they go back to see Baba. And Baba says to the family, did you hear the story? And they say, oh, yes, Baba, we heard it. I said, no, you didn't hear it. Oh, no, Baba, we heard it. Bal, you didn't tell them the story. And Bal feels for this family. He said, no, Baba, I told them. I said, no, you didn't tell the story because I didn't hear you laughing. If you had told them the way you told it to me, I would have heard you laughing. Anything you do for others, you should do as wholeheartedly as you do for me. So that was an example of Baba being such a great audience. And the counter example to that, I'm looking at my watch periodically because I don't want to go over my time. I won't, spontaneous my foot, pages and pages of carefully prepared notes. But you need to do that to be spontaneous, right? One time Dolly Parton said, you have no idea how much money it cost me to look this cheap. And I think it's the same principle here. So the first time money ever met Eruch was in 1956 in Bombay at Ashiana, which may strike some of you as, wait a minute, Eruch came in 38, money was there from somewhere in the 30s, I don't know the date. What do you mean they never met? But they never met because Baba kept the men and the women separate. And even though they spent 3 years on the new life together, they were still kept separate. And when they were walking on the road, the women walked ahead, and then Baba and the men walked. So there was no interchange between them. It was only in the later years that Baba would send money over to Eruch's side for some work. But Baba had told the women about Eruch. He had lauded Eruch, what a gem Eruch was. Not to Eruch, but to the women. And of course, to the men, Baba would say, the reason we're having all these troubles is that you don't love me the way the women love me. If you only love me the way the women love me, then everything would be fine. So that was a little game that Baba played. And so he told the women about Eruch. So Mani said she felt a little bit in awe, finally meeting this person, this Eruch fellow. And Eruch is sitting next to Baba, and Baba says to Mani, sing him Begin the Begin. And the reason for this is that no announcement about turning off your cell phones?
Oh, yeah, we forgot that.
No.
No one else heard it either.
So Eruch said Baba would often tell them that when they traveled, don't forget, if I drop my body, if we have some accident, take my body back to Mehrabad and put it in the tomb. And he said, and when you do, play Begin the Begin. And he said, Baba said this all the time. I never really paid any attention. We were all young. I mean, Baba was older, but there was no sense that Baba was going to die. He said, but after the accident in 52, it suddenly occurred to him, oh, maybe something could happen. I should take this seriously. So he said, do you know Begin the Begin? And Eruch said, no, Baba, I don't know it. So that's when Baba said, call Mani. And Mani comes in, and Baba says to Mani, sing Begin the Begin for Eruch. So Mani starts, there's no music. It's a long song, and I've been told it's a tricky song to sing. And so Money is singing this song to Eruch, who's sitting there absolutely stone-faced. No encouragement, no appreciation, no smile, no sense that he's even really recognizing her as a human at all. And Money said the song got longer and longer and longer. Because when the audience is completely dead, it's really hard to keep it up. But she's doing it for Baba. So she does the entire song. And then Baba said, okay, now go back to the women's side. So Money leaves. This is the first time Eruch had ever heard this story. Money happened to be telling in the hall one day. And he said, well, Money, do you know why that was? And Money said, no. I mean, other than the fact that I thought you were kind of a jerk, just sitting there. So no, I had no idea. And then Eruch explained the backstory. He said, so I was taking this very seriously. So as you sang the song, I was memorizing it. So that if Baba dropped the body, at least I could recite it. I couldn't sing, I don't have a voice anymore, but I would know the words. So I was doing my best, and Eruch had incredible concentration. And he was just memorizing the song as she sang it. So there was no room to smile at Money and, oh, nice, and this and that. Money had never heard that. So that's the opposite of the good audience that makes it so hard. So I'm counting on all of you, occasional smile, laugh, something. Yeah. But there's this third reason why I don't feel guilty about this, which is that it doesn't matter what I say or do, I know that. But Baba can use anything. When Rick Chapman made the first Don't Worry, Be Happy cards in the late 60s, they put a picture, it might even be that one back there, of a fairly avuncular, smiling Baba, an older Baba. And the women were very upset, the women Mandali. They thought, that's a terrible picture to put out. That's the one you can hand out to people who don't know anything about Baba. They would want a picture like that in the other room of the young Baba looking so vibrant and dynamic. And they said, it shows you what we know. So many people have come from that picture. We never would have chosen it. And along those lines, I was thinking that, Bob would always play one group off another group, like I told you about the women and the men. So when the people from Bombay, there was a large contingent of people in Bombay, Parsis, who were Baba followers. And Baba, especially after the World's Fair in New York, would rib them. Look what these people in America are doing. They've only known me about me for a few years, and World's Fair, they've had a booth. They've passed out 10,000 copies of and what have you people done? You've never done anything for me. So it so happened that not long after that, there was going to be an industrial fair in Bombay. And so they decided, we'll get a booth for Baba. And so they did. They got a booth for Baba at the industrial. I don't know what this has to do with the industry, but they got an industrial fair booth for Baba. And but then after a while, they called Baba, Eruch, and Guru Prasad. And Eruch picks up the phone. They said, Eruch, we have a problem. He said, what's that? He said, we don't know what to tell people when they ask us, who's Baba? Whatever we say doesn't satisfy them. If we say he's the same as Rama Krishna, some people get offended when we say that. If we say he's the avatar, it doesn't mean anything to... What can we say? And Eruch says, I'll ask Baba. So Eruch went in the next room, and he explained the situation to Baba, and he said, this is what's happening. And Baba said, well, tell them that the answer for that is, Baba says he is the one that provokes that question within them. The being of all beings. So fine, they did that. But I heard that and I thought, that's not the answer I would give if someone asked me who is Meher Baba. It just seems, Baba gave it, but it doesn't seem, I wouldn't pick that one. So at the center, this was only like last year, I don't know why they have this, but every now and then they have someone near the gate that you unlock to drive your car into the center. And there's a little house there. And they had someone stationed there. I have no idea why. So this guy is stationed there, and a pickup truck pulls in. It's a typical Southern Baba. Pickup truck, John Deere hat, gun rack in the back. And I can't do accents, with a Southern drawl, who is this Meher Baba guy? And he says, Baba says, he is the one that provokes that question within you, the being of all beings. And the guy says, you mean he's God? And he immediately rushed off to the gateway to find out more. So I figure, Baba can use anything. It really doesn't matter what I say. In fact, some of you may know or read Rustam Falahati's little pamphlets, The Real Treasure. At one point, one thing Eruch would do when people came and thought, how did you come? How did you hear about Baba? And so on. So he got Rustam to tell his story. And Rustam said how indebted he felt to Havovi Dadachanji, because she was the one who told him about Baba. And Eruch said, what nonsense. Havovi had nothing to do with it. He said, if a postman comes and gives you a letter that says you've won a lottery and you've won $1 million, are you beholden to the postman? He was just a messenger. He said, I said, why'd you come? Oh, I saw a picture of Baba. A book fell on my head in the library and it was God Speaks. He said, excuses. This is just nonsense. There's no way a rational person could see a picture of someone who's no longer in the body and then fly 10,000 miles to find out. It's Baba who brings you here. It's Baba who does it all. Nobody comes to me on their own. It is I who call them. You have no idea of the incredible chains of circumstance that I create that eventually result in your accidentally hearing my name or being able to come into my presence. You are astonished at your good fortune that you have come to me, and you thank your lucky stars, not realizing that I am those stars, and the sun, and the moon, and all the galaxies beyond. But you would be truly amazed if you knew the lengths I have gone to bring you to me. That sudden rainstorm that made you duck into the second-hand bookstore, where you randomly picked up a volume that had a chapter about me in it, that was not happenstance. I planned it all. That time you took a wrong turn and ended up walking down the street, where you bumped into an old friend you hadn't seen in years, and she told you about me. Who do you think it was who arranged for her to be there at that exact time, in that exact place? I did that. And of course, I was the one who came into your dreams night after night when you were just a child, and then disappeared, and you forgot all about me, until you saw my photo 37 years later and realized I had been that smiling friend with the long hair and the white robe. Know well that nobody comes to me unless I call them. Nobody comes to me unless it is my will. Even now, whatever love you have for me is but a dim reflection of the love I have for you. You are doing your best to make me yours, but I tell you with divine authority that you are mine, and always have been, and always will be. Now, of course, Baba would not like a heavy atmosphere here, so we're going to have to break this up. Because even when Baba got serious, like in '56, there's a nice tape of Baba's visit to America. I don't know if any of you have heard any of those cassettes. And in it, there's a session in the barn. And Baba has Don Stevens read out a discourse. And Don Stevens has a marvelous radio voice, but even so, he's droning on and on with this discourse. And suddenly there's this electrifying clap, and it's Baba. And Eruch says, Don, Baba says you're putting us all to sleep. And then Eruch says, Baba says, Don, do you understand that? That's it. I think so, Baba. Baba says, then explain it to him so maybe he will understand it. Which isn't to say that Baba wasn't ever serious. As you know, Baba gave discourses, and if people came expecting Baba to be serious, Baba would honor that. And in fact, when people would come, Baba might be playing cards with the men. And those card games were incredibly raucous. And shouts of people accusing each other of cheating and this and that. There were so many people, sometimes you only had 2 cards, nobody knew what was happening. And suddenly people throw their cards on the floor. Okay, some team rub your nose on the ground. Nobody knew what was happening. And Baba, someone's coming. Who is it? Oh, it's that fellow from Andhra. And it was a very devout person from Andhra. Put the cards. Sit on the cards. Sit up straight. No swearing. No joking. And then I said, how do I look? You look good, Baba. No. He didn't have his coat. He just had his... Get a garland. I said, bring a garland. Look good, Baba. Okay. And the guy would come in and Baba would give him a very serious talk. And Baba would sometimes even, fellows in meditate, would give him advice on how you meditate, how he should do his meditations. And then he would leave, and Baba would say, Eruch, has he left yet? And he would go on the veranda. He's at the gate, Baba. He's going out the gate now. Quick, get the cards. The traditional paths to God seem so austere. Meditation, discipline, constant self-denial, that most of us take one look and say, no thanks, that's not for me. Or, if inspired by some spiritual ideal, we give it a try. But inevitably, we find we can't keep it up. It's just too hard. Baba says that out of millions who set out, only a few persevere. But after encouraging the would-be heroes to keep trying, he turns to the rest of us who are daunted by the very idea. He says, forget about all that. Just leave everything to me and simply love me more and more. Baba didn't want people to always be serious and pious and devout. He liked a lively atmosphere around him. And then to make it even easier, Baba shares with us his simple humanity, his love of fun and games, and his ever-present sense of humor. There's room for badminton and ping pong, cricket and 7 tiles, and hilarious card games, which are so rowdy that sometimes it's impossible to tell who's cheating or even what the rules are, except that the losers rub their noses on the ground. And there are jokes and tall tales and good-natured teasing, movie-going and skits and music sessions, which included not just guzzles and bhajans, but Coconut Woman and La Cucaracha. Which is not to say that we can sing and dance and laugh our way to realization, but Baba's love of fun and good humor are infinitely appealing, and we are irresistibly drawn to him, and we relax and think, hey, this isn't so bad. Maybe there's something to spiritual life after all. And as we get closer to his feet, his divine presence overwhelms us and starts to make it possible for us to undertake the hard work that must be done to complete the journey. Now, I don't know how many people in here are familiar with the song Coconut Woman? One person. Fortunately, we've imported at great expense
Caramel. Coconut.
Oh, thank you.
Coconut. Oh, coconut woman can heal you. Coconut woman is calling out. And everybody, you can hear her shout, oh, coconut woman is calling out. Every day you can hear her shout, get your coconut water, coconut. It is good for your daughter, coconut. Gives you plenty of iron, coconut. Makes you strong like a lion, coconut. A lady asked me the other day, no one could take her sweet man away. I asked her, What was the remedy? Coconut water and a rum and a story. Oh, coconut. Coconut. Oh, coconut woman. Coconut. Oh, thank you very much for giving me this opportunity to sing this marvelous song. Baba.
And they would play that. They had a little crank record player, and they'd crank it and play the records. And Bob enjoyed that song quite a bit by Harry Belafonte. And Bob would do his lion gesture, strong like lion. And then you know the cucaracha story, right? Yeah, okay, so I won't tell that, but...
I don't know the story.
Fortunately, we have a woman.
Well, maybe on Sunday. Pages of material to get through. So, anyway, okay, I'll tell very quickly. So, Narina was always interested that people from high society come and meet Baba. Because initially she felt those were the people that counted. And so she would always try and have these high society princesses and whatnot come and meet Baba. And Baba didn't have much interest in it. But one time he said, okay, bring her. So this woman comes, and she comes to meet Baba, and Baba's very gracious as always. And afterwards he says, Narina, let's have some music. And Narina is so happy because her friend loved classical music. And she said, oh, Baba, you've done it again. Just the perfect thing to wheel her in. And Baba thinks, yeah, get that record, I like it, La Cucaracha. And Narina thinks, oh, Baba, La Cucaracha. And so they do the Cucaracha, and according to Money, when she told the story, the woman thinks, oh, Baba, I've got an appointment. And she suddenly went off. And he said, oh, Baba, darling, why? I said, what to do? No connection. So it's a funny story. I also found it a little sad to think that no connection. And so someone told me recently, and I don't know if this is true or not, and I don't know if I want this confirmed or not, because I like this version whether it's true or not. But he said that in his reading he found out that when Baba was in Italy in the 30s, he wanted 3 women to come and see him. And he asked Narina, can you get these 3 women to come and see me? And Narina said, sure, Baba, but that woman in France doesn't have enough money, I guess, to take the train to come to Italy to see you. So I said, ask your other friend, the Cucaracha woman, to give her the money. And she did. So that's always made me feel very good. She may not have had the connection to live with Baba as one of his close ones, but she had a connection enough to meet him, which is no small thing, and have a part in his work, and to be able to help Baba. So if you find out that story's not the same woman, don't tell me, because I like it this way. So, I have to wrap this up. So, I see the Baba's ever-present sense of humor. Baba just found fun in a lot of things. He liked people's eccentricities, for instance. Baba got great delight in that. For instance, one thing, Beidel and Kaka, there are a lot of Kaka stories. I won't tell them all tonight. But Beidel and Kaka could never get along. And who knows why, personalities. But one of the ways that it showed itself is that each thought disparaged the other one's must. So Kaka would say, he's just bringing mad people. They're not must. And Beidel would feel the same about Kaka. That, he doesn't know a must from him. He doesn't. And then they'd complain, oh, I bring my muss and Kaka doesn't treat them well. He doesn't change the sheets. And, well, he's a madman with diarrhea. What am I supposed to? And it would go on and on. And they would get upset with each other. And Marwan Jaswala, starting in like 59, would come to Mirzad each year for a month. And throughout the 60s, he said, as late as that, he would come, and the first thing that would happen is Kaka would bring him aside to complain about Beidel and Beidel's must and so on. And so at one point, they got into it, and they were arguing, and Baba loved it. And Baba had a couple tricks, and one of his tricks was that he could wink at you, and only the person he winked at noticed it. And the same thing, he could give a little gesture and only you would see it. So if Kaka and Beidel were arguing, he would turn to Kaka and say, which means, light the fire. Come on, something, really, say something, trenchant to him. And then he'd say, and Beidel, you're going to let him say that? And he just egged him on. Get him really fever pitch. And Beidel got so worked up that his dentures went flying out of his mouth. And without a pause, he reached down in the dirt and the felt, put him back in his mouth, and kept swearing it. And Baba found that hilarious. And then when it was all done, Baba would say, okay, enough. He'd say, Money said it was the most amazing thing, that when Baba said enough and did that gesture, she said it was like a wave coming in from the ocean and just washing the shore clean. And all the animosity you felt to that other person, you were just arguing with in front of Baba 30 seconds before, just washed away. I would say, okay, now forget it and embrace. Just be gone. Of course, 10 minutes later, it might come back, but that's a different story. So Baba liked these little things. Like one time, I don't remember what the context of this was, but Neelu wanted to go to the Taj Mahal a hotel in Bombay. Very fancy, very expensive. I don't know, maybe one of those, secret, always had a desire to go to the Taj Mahal. And so Baba finally says, okay, Neelu, you can go, but on one condition. You have to take Ustadji with you. And he goes, oh, Baba. Because Neelu could dress up. He had nice clothes. He could be a bit of a dandy. And Ustadji was a ragamuffin. At one point, Baba called the women over to see Ustadji's laundry hanging up because it was all patches. There was no original material, just patches over patches. And he says, oh, Baba, do I have to? That was the condition. You have to take Ustadji to the Taj Mahal. But Baba says it, so you have to do it. So they come back sometime later, and Baba's really interested because Baba took great interest in all this. How was it? And Neelu's not looking happy at all. And Ustadji says, oh, Baba, it was so humiliating. It was so embarrassing. This man, because he had on his shiny leather shoes and a polished marble floor, and he kept falling down. And he said, it was like he was drunk. Everyone looked at me as if I had my drunken uncle with me, Baba. I was so embarrassed I couldn't enjoy my ice cream at all. Baba loved it. Baba, as I said, Baba often asked people, to do something, tell a story, or make a funny skit. I'm going to do a must trip, but when I come back, have some funny skit prepared. And sometimes Baba would give them a theme on which they should do it, and sometimes he didn't. And one time, it was Christmas time. And Narina, as you know, had been a Broadway star in The Miracle, in which she played the Madonna. A statue, she's just on stage forever, not moving, until finally the last act she comes alive, and it's a miracle. Anyway, this time she was going to play Jesus. And she was going to carry the cross. And she was going to have this procession across the stage. And really solemn. And Narina had that stage presence. She could carry that off. So I don't know what her costume was or what she did for the cross, but she's going to walk across the stage. And Beidel's daughter and wife, who they say were not the sharpest bulbs in the deck, money had convinced them to be in but they didn't have any lines. All they had to do was sit on the stage, and they had baskets of flowers. And when Narina came, they were going to get up and just strew flowers in front of the Christ, walking. And it's supposed to be a really solemn, heartfelt moment. And Narina comes onto the stage, and Dal and Saltoon are just so struck with Narina's presence that all they can do is sit there and gape at her. And they just stare at her and they watch her walk all the way across the stage. And suddenly they realize, wait a minute, we forgot our part. And they pick up their skirts and they start yelling at each other, in Persian, and throwing flowers and racing across the stage. That was the part that Baba liked the best. All sanctimony destroyed, all solemn atmosphere gone. So for that reason, Money loved to get Gohir in plays, because Gohir was very shy, as you know, those of you have met her, and it was totally out of character for her to be in a play. which is why Money liked to have her, because Baba would find that very amusing. And so Money would say, "Go, I've got a part for you. But don't worry, no speaking lines at all. All you have to do, whatever it was." And Goher would always say, "No, Money, I can't do that." And Money would persuade, "No, Money, I can't do that, Money." So then Money would always play her trump card. But Baba would enjoy it. So then Goher had to say yes. So Money, I wish I were a good meme, because this was very funny. So Money had a part. She said, "Goher, you don't have to say anything. It's all in mine. We have a harmonium, and you pretend you're the mad genius pianist. And you just sit there, and you get inspired. Throw it, boom, 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 boom." And Money acted out perfectly. It was just hysterical. And Goher goes, I said, "You do it." And goes, "No, do it again." So Money again would get her inspiration, throw her hands up, start beating the keys like anything. And now you... So Goher tries. Let's go here. You're not taking darshan of the harmonium. So Baba always loved it when Goher was in skits. So they had a skit, again, no speaking lines for Goher. She was a baby in a baby carriage. And just having her be a baby in a baby carriage was funny for everybody. And when the skit's all over, they cluster around Baba, and Baba's telling them how much they enjoyed it. And they hear a voice calling for help. Goher's stuck in the carriage and she can't get out. So that became then Baba's favorite part of the skit. Well, we're gonna have to skip a lot of things. So I'll just tell a couple, which is that if there weren't things happen that was sort of funny on their own, Baba would create the fun on his own. So one time, Pukar, some of you have met Pukar from northern India, and he spent a lot of time with Baba, and also in Guru Prasad. Actually, there's a book, Pukar's Diaries. I don't know if Angela has it for sale. Do you have it? No, of course not. Great book, because it gives you a behind the scenes look at what it was like to be on the men's side when it's just the men, and there's no public program, and it's just casual conversation. But anyway, so Pukar is his job is to read the Hindi correspondence. And it must have been a letter from someone up north. And he was saying to Baba, "Oh, Baba, my love for you is such, I really feel like I should be dancing in front of you." And so Baba, "Pukar, don't just read it, dance." And so Pukar was a big, heavy fellow, and he's just kind of hopping from foot to foot. Everybody loved it. Baba thought it was hilarious. And the funny thing about Baba's teasing, like with something like that, is Pukar didn't feel offended. He was happy to be able to give Baba entertainment. And Baba's teasing was never mean-spirited. It made you feel like, oh, we're so close, that Baba's enjoying this quirk. Baba's enjoying the fact that I weigh 250 pounds and I'm kind of jumping from foot to foot, and it's a funny sight. Or you were so innocent like Deshmukh, you didn't even realize that Baba was making fun of you. So, Deshmukh was often the butt of Baba's jokes because he was so innocent. And one of Deshmukh's quirks, because he loved Baba dearly, was he was incredibly miserly. He would not spend money. And he would come to visit Baba from Nagpur, and Nagpur is famous for its oranges. And he would come and say, "Baba, I brought you some oranges." And he'd bring out 6 wizened little brown, Eric said they look more like walnuts than oranges. And Baba, "Oh, look at that. How much did you pay for this?" He said, "Well, Baba, he wanted, 4 rupees for a dozen." I said, "That was way too much." So I bargained with him. And I kept bargaining until finally, Baba, I got these, 4 oranges for only 50 paise. And Baba would be, "Oh, Deshmukh, such a good job." And everybody found it hilarious. And Deshmukh had no idea that Baba was really making fun of him for being so tight. So one time, this is the last one, because I know I'm running out of time. So Deshmukh was there. Everyone was there at Guru Prasad, and Baba had announced that he was going to go to, I think, to Delhi, and for a visit. And so people from Baba, if you're going to Delhi, why not come to Nagpur? You're going north, it's just an easy stop on the way. And when people made any suggestions, Baba always took it very seriously. Oh yeah, that's right. Tell you what, if Deshmukh will pay for me and the Mandali to come, I will do it. And everybody in the room knew Deshmukh's nature. So they all started yelling, Deshmukh, say yes! Just say yes, Deshmukh! And oh, Baba, I have to ask my wife. I don't know about that. And someone said, Deshmukh, I'll give you 30,000 rupees for your hat. Deshmukh always wore these little hats. I made up the figure of 30,000. But, some outrageous sum. And Deshmukh said, no, that would be cheating. Baba wants me to do it on... No, but I'm paying. I'm giving you money. I have to ask my wife. And, of course, Baba knew what was going to happen. Never went. Baba knew that. Everyone knew it. But, again, it was just enjoying that quirk of Deshmukh, that with all of his love, he just could not part with money for Baba's sake. So I have to end on time, so I'm going to end with, this will be the last one, which is that I have so many examples of like jokes people told him and other jokes that Baba would play. Maybe on Sunday we can do some of that. And so I think that Baba's humor lasted all the way to the very end. And in his last week of his life, when he was so ill and having those awful spasms, he was still joking with people. And in fact, like 4 or 5 days before Baba dropped the body, Baba came up with a little ditty. I think it was something like Sai Baba Baba Jan, Meher Baba Che Bhagwan. Sai Baba Baba Jan, Meher Baba is God. And he taught it to Kaka. Because Kaka, because of his illnesses, could not come up with any words for anything. His mind was just completely gone. But he would try. And so Baba said, sing this song, Kaka. And Kaka would sing it with great enthusiasm, but it's just gibberish. And Baba thought it was hysterically funny. And Eruch was writing letters to his brother every day. And he wrote to his brother, we all laugh like hell. Haven't laughed like that in months. It was such a good time. That was just like a few days before Baba dropped his body. And knowing that Baba always liked to have funny stories, Eruch thought, I've got to prepare, because I'm not a humorous guy, and I don't have any funny stories. So he happened to see, maybe in a Gujarati paper, another article about a monk in Tibet. And the monk had gone away, and as he left the monastery, he told all his disciples, I'm leaving now, but I will return. And so he left, but he never came back. And the gist of the article, it struck Eruch as funny, was the article said that ever since that, and this was hundreds of years ago, every day they changed the water at the nightside table. Every day they sweep the floor. Every day they change the bed linens. And the article said, if you collected all the water in all those glasses, it would be as much as the Pacific Ocean. If you took all the sheets and tied them together, it'd reach from here to the moon, that kind of thing. If you took all the dust they swept up, it'd be taller than Mount Everest. And Eruch said he thought this was very funny. So around 4 or 5 days before Baba drops his body, they're in Baba's room, and Baba asks for a funny story. This is my chance. And he says, just a moment, Baba, I've got something. And he runs to his room, and he brings back the article, and he reads the article. Absolute silence. Lying on the bed, and any movement would cause Baba to spasm. So they tried to see that Baba didn't have to move, but Baba's making some gesture. So Eruch is leaning over, desperately trying to read this in the dark to figure out what Baba's saying, because he doesn't want Baba to have to keep gesturing. But it doesn't make any sense to him that Baba's saying, I will return. It makes no sense. And so he's sitting there for a while, 5 minutes, 10 minutes. Suddenly it comes, Baba, you mean like that monk? That monk who didn't return, that story I read? Unlike that monk, I will return. And Eruch said, I felt so happy that he remembered that story. And then the next day, of course, is the 31st. And Padre comes, and Baba's joking with Padre. And Baba says, because Padre has come to give him homeopathic medicine. And Baba said, "You're a barber. Your medicine does no good at all." Padre said, "No, Baba, give it a chance. You take 3 doses. You've only had 1 dose. Take 3 doses and then see." "No, it's no good at all." And Padre says, "Baba, I think it's time. Close the tavern, just close the shop." And Baba said, "Close the shop? What do you mean close the shop? I'm about to open the shop." And a few minutes later, Baba dropped the body. And so it seemed to me the Baba did open the shop. And the tavern now is open to anyone who has the past connections, the courage, or the love to enter it. And how much wine Baba will pour into your cup only depends on the size of the cup that you bring with you in your heart. And now have a moment of silence.